When Maggie Demarchi moved to Winnipeg, she struggled to find a sense of community. To change that, she and other Brazilians founded the Brazilian Association in Winnipeg, bringing together Brazilians to celebrate their culture and share it with others. In honor of Brazilian Independence Day, the group is hosting a gathering at Assiniboine Park, and Maggie would love to see you there. Let's get into it.
Thank you so much, Ryan, to think of us and inviting us for being here today talking about it. Oh, first of all, I'm Maggie Demarchi. I am with the Brazilian Association in Winnipeg. The association was created in 2008, 7th of September 2008. It was exactly the day of the independence, and we created the association at this day to remember. We got a special date so we could always remember, right? So we have been operating since then. We started doing events, right? Gatherings, mostly gatherings to get people together so that you can meet. The most important thing when you are out in a new country is to, especially in Winnipeg, I would say, is to have those friends that will make you feel like home, right? Your friends is your local family. The family they left behind, we made a new family here with your friends. So the gathering had this objective to get people together, to connect, to do networking. If you don't know people, you don't get anywhere, right? So that's why we started and how we started. Just after that, we had COVID. So we couldn't gather anymore. So we started doing Zoom events with information. What do you need to know about insurance? How you do your taxes? Easy things like that, but important for people to know. And after COVID, we got back to doing our gatherings. So mostly what we do is events in special dates, normally like we do in June the São João, which is the St. John Baptist party. That is a big party in Brazil. Maybe the party that most people really enjoy. It's like the harvest here.
Okay, it's like a harvest festival sort of thing.
Yeah, and it would be like a corn harvest. So we do a lot of food with corn. So it's the typical food is all made with corn, all kinds of different salty and sweets, but made with corn is the main ingredient. So we do Christmas sometimes. We do, in different times of the year, we do at least 3 to 4 events gathering the year for people to get together. And another thing that we have is a group for support for the entrepreneurs. Brazilians are very entrepreneur, but in Brazil, people just go and do business and then they close and they open. They don't do like the business plan, blah, blah, blah. So here we have a group of people that has this job to try to...
It's like things happen a little bit differently.
Yeah. Try to guide them, show them where the resources are and things like that. Another thing that we do is, like, for example, we try to create projects like the broadcast for youth that you guys have here with the Brazilian youth. So we create that to try to give the opportunity for the youngers to have something to do, right? And one thing that we're trying to start now is a night for dancing. That we would, on the process of getting a place that we can every week have a night that we can gather.
Have a big party celebration sort of thing.
Brazilians love parties and we love dancing. And when we go to parties or socials or things that are not Brazilian, we dance the music that people dance here. But we want to dance to our music, the forró, the
What would you
samba.
Yeah, what are some other like different musics or dance styles? Who would you say is authentically Brazilian?
Do you know samba? Now imagine samba danced by 2 people.
Okay.
Right? Samba de gafieira, for example, we say, like, this is samba, but dance together is different and is very beautiful. We have the ballroom dance, the Brazilian style ballroom dance, like dança de salão, we say. And we have forró, which is another style of movement, the dance, but with 2 people as well. But we have so many special rhythms that we love dancing. So our gatherings, we try to do and to teach people. And the objective of our dance nights will be that, to learn and to teach Brazilian different styles of dance. It's just another opportunity for people to gather, but also include other people, non-Brazilians. And
I mean, as you were mentioning, like, for newcomers coming in from Brazil, having that sort of network and things, like a lot of these events or activities can help people feel at home in a new country, like here in Canada, an opportunity, settle, calm down, because like it can be incredibly stressful moving to a new place, people you don't know, trying to start a completely new life. And Pietra, she's been doing amazing work here at Multicultural, as well as Gabby recorded an episode recently, and they explore these stories and talk about them. What was one of the recent one? Win Home, a Brazilian entrepreneur helping create a business to establish homes for Brazilians coming here to Winnipeg. I think it's something like, making sure like the fridge has some food in there, helping people with their pets, an important part of something that, people might not think about in the process of like, oh no, what am I going to do with my pet? How am I going to get my pet here? Now there's a service to help with that.
And imagine renting a place that you've never seen in a city that you haven't been there, right? I think it's an amazing idea. And a great job they do at Win Homes. Mm-hmm. And also you had Samir also the other day that has I think a channel that help people who are coming and help people before they decide they come to Winnipeg to know here, right? Through their program online. I think these ideas are awesome and really are very helpful. And like you said, networking. We think about getting a job, networking for getting a job, but we are talking about Winnipeg. We are talking about a place that will be white for 4 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm. But we're already seeing a shift in the weather already.
Oh, yes.
And August isn't even over yet.
We need a jacket. Anyways, I come from a city that if the temperature goes close to 20 degrees, people need a jacket.
That is something that is so... I went to Toronto earlier in the summer, and I was talking with a couple of friends, and they're talking about how this year, it didn't get much colder than 0 degrees. And then people are like bundled up wearing massive parkas. And to me, that's like, whoa, like if it isn't minus 20, I'm like, it's not so bad outside.
There you go. So imagine people who came from Brazil. If you're not from the really south of Brazil, you never saw cold, you never saw snow. This is totally unknown to you. And at this time of the day when the weather change, your mood change, right? Sometimes feel pain, you feel a bit depressed.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Oh, yeah. You need that network. You need those friends because we're going to go. You may feel down. You may even consider going back home. But that's why you need that family here, those friends that will make you feel that this can be your home. You can feel good. And when I moved to Canada, I did not have any Brazilian friends. I did not have any organization that would help me or try to give me support. And I remember I lived in Toronto for 4 years, and I used to go to the neighborhoods where the Portuguese were, so I could go in the stores and hear them speaking Portuguese.
Yeah.
And that's what my connection. I would just say nothing and smile and hear that
just
sound.
To feel that familiarity in the language.
Exactly. And I moved here to Manitoba, to Winnipeg, and I didn't have these connections either. But I started creating the connections. And now we have all of this, and I look back, years ago, we didn't have anything, and I start talking to some friends and say, we are going to do something here. And now, whoa, we have the association, we have a council. It's more for civic things and to connect with the consulate. And we have an honorary counsel. We have a person who can sign documents for you if you need, so you don't have to go to Toronto to the consulate. Yeah. So we have so much today. I talk to a lot of people from many countries, and they say how fortunate we are as Brazilians because we have so much here, so much support.
Well, and it takes those first few steps, right? Like when there was nothing originally when you first came here, and it's about taking those opportunities. If it's not there, sometimes you have to be the one to step up.
Exactly. In everything in life. So I hope people can join, come to our party, to this picnic. Can we talk about the
Yeah,
picnic
let's
a
talk
little
about
bit?
the picnic, the upcoming celebration of the Brazilian independence.
Yes, so it's on the 7th of September, Saturday, it's just coming 2 weeks, right?
Very soon.
And it's in site number 4 on the Assiniboine Park, just behind the zoo. We have 2 volleyball courts there, and we have 2 fire pits. So we are going to have some food, maybe some barbecue that people will bring. It's going to be like potluck.
Brazilian barbecue, right?
You bring wherever you want to eat and share, and we will make it happen there. And we probably will have also the flag raising to celebrate and maybe sing the Brazilian anthem and just have fun together.
Can you give me a little preview of what the anthem sounds like? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
No problem. I can even put playing on the thing, but let's say... Ouviram do Ipiranga as margens plácidas de povo heróico brado retumbante.
Amazing, fantastic.
Oh, people will probably pick on me because I couldn't continue.
It's okay. I mean, that's exciting.
But I do know how to sing. It's long and it's beautiful. I grew up listening to it, and it was always so beautiful to me to hear. Right. And I feel same for Canadian anthem right now. Yeah. I remember the first time here in Canada, like 24 years ago, right? When I went to school for the first time and we stand up to sing the Canadian anthem. And I cried like a kid because I was missing home.
Yeah.
And now I can sing both with pride that I have 2 nationalities. I'm very happy to be Brazilian and to be Canadian.
Well, I think it's an incredible strength to have that kind of diversity of background. You have, like, when you're building life here in Canada, you have the appreciation of the life you're building here, but also the life that you had before and like the country that you can still visit and like have all those connections to. And it provides a lot of perspective.
I think that we can gain from each culture so much, right? There are so many things that are part of the Canadian culture that it looks like you were born this way, but it's because you were raised this way and you learn stuff about, for example, I'll give you a classical thing that I perceive. We Brazilians, we don't have in our culture the volunteer work like Canadians do. So sometimes when people get here, they don't realize how important volunteer work is. Sometimes they think when they start, they hear, volunteer work because you network, because you get experience, because you know people, and that will help you to get a job. And they then get into it. But the other part of giving back, you don't volunteer work because you need to get help. You volunteer work because you want to give, because you realize how much you have, right? And I think Canadians have this. Once somebody explained to me why Canadians stay in line to wait for something. Like if you are in a line to eat and there is a banquet over there, you have no rush to get there because you know there is plenty and because you were born and went to a daycare and you have to walk in line. Right. I see that.
Waiting in line is one of the things that infuriates me the most. It's one of those things like I see people waiting patiently and I'm like, I can't do this. It drives me crazy.
But it's a Canadian thing to do that so easily. I didn't know you would feel like that.
Oh, man. For me, it is just, I can't handle it. Like, when I go to grab lunch at, like, a Subway or something, if there's, like, even, like, 6 people, I'm like, no, I'll go somewhere else. I go crazy waiting.
You're the first Canadian that I hear that from, but I don't notice. I don't observe
There's probably
this.
Others that probably just don't want to say it.
And I look, there is a daycare across my home, and I see they go in the line, all one behind the other, and I think that must be because of that they are so...
Yeah, I remember, line up in the hall.
But Brazilians, they would do just like you described. I think if there are 2 people on the line, I don't want to go.
It's like, no. No, like
But
when I
you
went
see-
to Toronto, the CN Tower, like we booked our tickets and everything. So we thought, oh, we'll just go a couple, like maybe 10, 15 minutes before our time. And there's this massive line, like probably 300 plus people. Luckily, it went quickly. But like there was a moment I was like, do we just leave? Like I know we paid for the ticket, but like I'm going to go insane standing in this line.
You are just like me then, right? You're Brazilian in that sense. But I'm telling you, like Canadians know how fortunate they are and they like sharing, right? So Brazilians like sharing, but there are a few things about like the importance of volunteering that sometimes they don't understand. They think if you're volunteering it's because you want something. And this part they haven't got yet, the majority of them. But there are so many things in our culture that are wonderful. Like we are so close to people. We don't have that. This is my personal space. You see, keep your distance. We don't have that. We are just get together and good to each other and are so close. And it's not a problem for us to hug and kiss everybody. It's not.
Yeah, I know
big
there's
deal.
a lot of people who like their like space. It's like hi, like casual shake, no hugging, like kind of staying away. And like it is nice to see like some other cultures where it is about that just physical and emotional connection.
Well, Ryan, maybe you can come and experience some of this closeness Saturday on the 7th. Show up. We're going to be there from 2 to 6.
Okay, 2 to 6 on September 7th.
Yes, site number 4 behind the zoo. We will play volleyball and we will eat and have fun and listen to Brazilian music and chat and talk like crazy.
Have some music, have those connections. How's the Brazilian community grown? I mean, of course, like you've been central to helping build the Brazilian Association in Winnipeg and building this community. What is kind of like the health and growth of the Brazilian community in Winnipeg today?
We unfortunately don't know numbers. All numbers that we get are not accurate because it's an open door, Winnipeg. People come and go. They come, they stay for a couple of years and they find jobs in other places. So they move on, right? Okay. They go to this last year, so many people moved to Ontario and Alberta, right? So, but every day there are new people coming. Right, we have lots of people opening different businesses here. It's a solid and healthy community.
One of those communities where it's like you celebrate when people are here and then you say, hey, thank you very much for the time as they go to start something new.
Oh, yes. And we never know they can come back, right? One thing that is part of our Charter of Rights in Canada is mobility, right? And if opportunity is given in another place, why not? Right? But sometimes people say, oh, I'm moving because Winnipeg is too cold. Good luck. Unless you're going to Vancouver to have rain all the year. You're going to be cold wherever you go, baby. But yeah, sometimes our length of winter makes people prefer to find another warmer place. But some people stay here because Winnipeg has some kind of enchantment. I remember when I moved here, a friend from Toronto moved with me. She's from there originally. And I remember when we moved in, I was commented how she hated Winnipeg. She didn't like because they didn't people didn't shovel in front of the home. She didn't like because the snow was so constant and most people didn't shovel the sidewalk, and that was the main complaint. And I thought after some years, she would just, when she finished what she came to do here, she would leave. She's still here, just like me. 20 years later, we are both here still. There is something here that I think is the sense of community, right? The closeness that Winnipeg has. So it's the closest to Brazil that you can get in Canada. I believe it is here because of this friendly Manitoba. Unless they are driving. Manitobans behind the wheel are not that friendly, but Manitobas are friendly. People recognize that.
Yeah, Winnipeg has a lot of like really special things about it. I was in the Exchange District just a couple weekends ago to watch like Saturday morning cartoons at the Dave Buster Cinematheque. And then I had an opportunity to explore some of the shops and things in the Exchange District. And it's just such a fun and lovely part of Winnipeg. And of course, there's a lot of challenges in Winnipeg, but working together, we can overcome them. And we've seen a lot of good things happening recently here in Winnipeg. A lot of talks about the development of downtown. The Forks is growing. And I think as we continue to have more communities like Brazilians coming to Winnipeg, we're going to see Winnipeg change and thrive. And I think together, if we work through these challenges, Winnipeg's going to be incredibly amazing.
Yes, I think it's already incredibly amazing, and it can always get better, and we will. And it is because of the people who choose to be here. I always say Winnipeg is for the strong ones, right? But it's for the people who really care, and we have a very caring community, and the culture here is so vibrant. There are places that you don't feel that there is a culture in that place, and here pop-up shows everywhere and all the festivals that we have.
Events, you wouldn't expect it. Like, everyone around Canada is always like, oh, Winnipeg. Like, they always kind of like take it for granted or kind of like downplay it. Well, we have so many arts and we have so many like different festivals or events happening all the time.
I remember when I was moving here, my friends in Toronto were always, what are you going to do in Winnipeg? And when I came here to visit, I said to myself, I'll never leave. And there you go. That was 20 years ago. Now, one day I remember I was traveling. This was about 20 years ago. And I met a man at the airport, a gentleman who worked for SIDA. Mm-hmm. So he was a Canadian who traveled the entire world on his work. And he told me he was retiring and he was moving back home to Winnipeg. And I thought, tell me, you could choose anywhere in the world, and you're choosing Winnipeg? And he told me, yes, that was, I never forgot that gentleman. That's my case. I am here, and I hope I will stay forever.
Yeah. I mean, I visit a lot of places here in Canada, and there is something, like, it feels like home. For me, coming back to Manitoba, coming back to Winnipeg, visiting these places, and it's amazing. And we're having so many diverse communities, like the Filipino community, growing, incredibly established right now, and food, events, culture. Winnipeg is just, it really is special.
Yes, and I'm glad that we can move wherever we want. I hope people can see the magic that is here, and if it is good for them and fulfill their soul and whatever they do in life, that they make this their home. I also know Winnipeg from coast to coast, like they say, from Halifax to Victoria, BC, and I'm still here. For now, at least.
Before we wrap things up, Maggie, what would you say is another thing that, we're talking about lines and volunteering, the difference between Brazilian and Canadian culture. What's another thing that you're like, wow, I didn't expect that, or it's like, wow, that's very Canadian? Because, for myself, a lot of those things I just have blinders on and I just kind of take them for granted and don't even think about them that much.
Well, this thing about the parties that goes from 1 to 3, that you set a time for things and things are done on that time, right? Even meetings, sometimes we schedule a meeting from 8 to 9 and it's almost 11 and we are already talking, right? Canadians are better with time management. This is one big thing. Canadians are also not very loud. Brazilians are very loud. These are things that come to mind right away. What else? I can't think about anything right on top of my mind now, but these are...
I mean, it's interesting to think about. I mean, in terms of like the loudness, yeah, I've a lot of Canadian parties versus, going to more diverse parties. The energy is definitely different.
Energy.
And I mean, we're not saying loud in a negative sense. Like sometimes you want to hear that excitement. You want to hear people having fun.
Yes. We do like having fun. We like...
I think that's the big thing, like going to concerts and things. It's like, is everyone having a good time? Yeah. It's like, no, come on, everyone.
One thing, you go to a show here, sometimes drive me crazy because it's quiet.
It's so quiet.
I went to a Brazilian show in Toronto from a famous Brazilian singer that I love. And you wouldn't believe, most of the show, everybody watched on their seat and they didn't say anything during the music. This is almost not possible in Brazil. By the end of the show, we decided to stand up. I was on the first line.
Yeah.
And we went to the back, to the side, and we started dancing. Yeah, because we couldn't stay. And after us, other people started doing. But then you wouldn't be bad to stand in front of people because this is not nice. But sometimes in Brazil, we don't care. We stand and everybody stand. But unfortunately, yeah. So, by the way, but we clap, we sing along, we do things that people
See, that is something that Canadians can learn from Brazilians. Like, let's show a little bit of enthusiasm at these events. Come on, we don't have to be so stoic sometimes.
Yeah, like even in a game, sometimes I go to watch game and it's silent. How you watch a soccer game quiet? I am standing, I'm screaming, I'm calling,
You should go to the Sea Bears games, like the basketball games. I mean, they're off for the season now.
It is like that?
High energy. It's so exciting.
High energy. That's Brazilian way.
I think part of it has to do with all the Filipinos there, like getting everyone excited.
There you go.
It's always fun. It's always exciting. And September 7th, head out to Assiniboine Park for Brazilian independence. It's going to be a great time. Maggie, if someone wants to learn a little bit more about the Brazilian community here in Winnipeg or the Brazilian Association in Winnipeg, where can they go?
They can go to Instagram, brazil.ca, and they can go to Facebook. We have a page there. Our email is Brazil with W at the end, 2018 @gmail.com. And they can connect with us if you have ideas, things that they would like to do. We always need people for communication. Sometimes we don't put a lot of things out there because we don't have a person responsible for that.
A dedicated person for
dedicated person. So we would love to have more volunteers to do things like specific things like the communication, social media. This is very important. So people can connect with us and we will look for opportunities for them. And soon we're going to need the people who can teach dance, ballroom Brazilian and forró and things like that, because we will create that dance night and we are going to do some fun stuff and we hope to see you there, Ryan.
Have any stories you'd like us to share or communities we should highlight? Leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was You Talk. And have yourself a good one.